Tonight on CFTK-TV News, a string of church break-ins in Terrace, the latest in the tariff showdown between European and American alcohol, and a precursor to the Cameron Kerr Cup.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Friday, March 14th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news local to the Northwest. Some anticipate that one sector in the Northwest will be heavily affected as the trade war continues between Canada and the States. Here's Damien Smith of CFTK-TV with more.
With the ongoing trade war between Canada and the United States, there has been many sectors targeted from President Donald Trump, and one industry that is under watch is aluminum, which Trump has put a 25% tariff on. And locally in the Northwest, Kitimat's economy, which holds Rio Tinto's smelter, is now under watch.
Kitimat especially has long been in this kind of boom and bust cycle. And the last thing we want to see right now is for people to potentially be losing jobs in Kitimat. And I have faith that they're going to do everything they can as a company to ensure that that doesn't happen. But, you know, they really are kind of relying on government to take the steps that are going to be necessary so that they don't have any pressure put on the company. You know, they might have to adjust prices. They might risk losing customers that are seeking alternative suppliers. It could lead us to very significant employment concerns. And I'm hoping that that's not the case.
And while Trump believes that America can create their own resources, Canada has been a long-time provider of aluminum for the United States, as they remain as America's biggest source of aluminum at 3.2 million tons last year, according to the U.S. International Trade Administration. In 2024, Canada supplied 58% of aluminum to the United States.
I am surprised that this is, you know, one of the industries that's being hit right now with these tariffs. It's not going to boost U.S. production because they're not there yet. They don't have access to the same amount of low-cost power, and there would be a massive capital investment that would be required for new plants.
And according to Rattay, these tariffs are going to have a similar effect to the carbon tax, which has been a big topic in the upcoming federal election. At the end of the day, though, the consumers will be the ones to feel the shift in the economy.
You know, the people that are most impacted by something like the carbon tax are rural, remote, northern communities and Indigenous communities, and we've seen that up north. You know, it affects everything because it's on the food that's grown, it's on the transportation to be able to get the food to us, all of those kinds of things, and it adds up, and those costs are just passed on to the consumer. So a tariff is going to basically work the same in theory.
From CFTK-TV, I'm Damien Smith.
The City of Terrace is looking to join many other communities and find other ways to generate funds that don't involve our American neighbors. CFTK's Cale Maslin has the story.
With the general uncertainty surrounding the ongoing trade war between Canada and the United States, work is taking place in BC to try and make sure that the province isn't reliant on the U.S.'s businesses in order to keep their economy stable. And the City of Terrace is no different, as at the most recent City Council meeting, an idea revolving around that particular subject was brought up.
Council put forward a motion that we look into how our procurements are done and making sure that if there's any way we can look into not utilizing a American business, we'll try to avoid that any way we can. So staff's going to bring back a report to us to see how that looks. You know, obviously when it comes to Terrace, we have not a great revenue source without industry, so we have to be careful with what we do because we don't really want to burden our taxpayer anymore. But I think it's wise of us to look to see how we can, how we're spending our money and where we're spending our money, and if there's ways we can do it better. So we'll look forward to that staff report to come back to us and see what we can do.
As of right now, there hasn't been a given date as to when the City of Terrace's staff might get that report finished, nor an exact indication as to what those different procurements might look like, or even what Canadian goods they will end up placing a major focus on in them. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
The Terrace RCMP has received several reports that churches in the area have been victimized by break-and-enters. The churches that were affected by the crimes include the Terrace Community Church, Alliance Church, Sacred Heart Church, Seventh-day Adventist, as well as the CRC Church. These crimes are suspected to have been committed sometime between 7 p.m. on March 12th and 6 a.m. on March 13th. Numerous items, as well as cash, were stolen from each location, and a white sedan is believed to be connected to the crimes. The Terrace RCMP are asking that anyone with any information that could lead to the discovery of who committed the crimes to give them a call at 250-638-7400. The Vanderhoof RCMP is also dealing with several thefts. The thefts involved several vehicles that were stolen overnight at the Spruce Grove Trailer Park. Vanderhoof's police have detained a pair of suspects in connection with the case as they were found to be in possession of stolen items. Both suspects were released with their charges pending. And this weekend, we'll see a packed house at the Terrace Sportsplex as the Terrace River Kings look to win another title in the Central Interior Hockey League. Damian Smith from CFTK-TV has the preview.
Well, the finals of the Central Interior Hockey League are now underway, and the Terrace River Kings will have an opportunity to win their second consecutive Cameron Kerr Trophy.
The team will have two opportunities to do so on Saturday evening at 7 p.m., which is expected to be a sold-out crowd, followed by a second chance the next afternoon at 1 p.m. The team recorded a buy-in into the semifinals against the Hazelton Wolverines, which was another close series between the two rivals. Terrace won Game 1 on the road, followed by a loss at home, and then had a comeback win for a Game 3 victory.
That win on Saturday, the first weekend in Hazelton, was huge. Shorter bench. Didn't have everybody able to go, but everyone who was there was willing to give everything, and that's kind of the mentality we've got. And then coming home, we were hoping to get it done on Saturday. A couple tough bounces. We didn't play a 60-minute game. We turned it on for the last 10 and made it close, and couldn't get a bounce there in the last couple seconds, but on Sunday, I think the group was pretty positive in the fact that we were going to go out and get a job done, and went down again 3-1. But there's no break with this group. A lot of bend, but no break.
And it's somewhat of a trend for Ebleen and the River Kings, who haven't been perfect in the playoffs over the years, but have managed to come out with 3 Cameron Kerr trophies in the past 4 years.
All 3 years I've played on the River Kings, we've won Game 1 in Hazelton, had a bit of an egg on Saturday night in Terrace for Game 2, and then come back on Sunday and finish it off. So the experience of 3 seasons of this really helped out, I think, like last year especially.
The opponent that the River Kings will look to beat is the Quesnel Kangaroos, who were right behind them in the regular season standings. And in Game 1 on the road, the short bench had an 8-hour bus ride to think about how they were going to prepare for Game 1, which they ended up winning by a score of 3-2.
Pretty common in this group is a lot of like homegrown Terrace kids who are super proud to put on that jersey and have always wanted to. Everyone stepped up. We have this kind of chat before the game, and when you're on the road in a packed arena, you always talk about weathering the storm and holding on and making sure you survive that first 10 minutes. But we kind of chatted about being the storm, kind of taking it to them, and that really did pay off for us as we were able to bang in 2 in the first and then just play a defensively smart game and hold on there in the end.
And this could actually be a revenge series for the Terrace River Kings, as of course they've had a lot of success over the past 4 years, but the one year they did not win was in 2023, and that was up against the Quesnel Kangaroos. So it will be a great opportunity for this team to win on home ice here at the Terrace Sportsplex. From CFTK-TV, I'm Damian Smith.
Coming up next, the latest in the tariff showdown. We now have a new Prime Minister as Trudeau's resignation became official today, making way for Mark Carney. His first big move was the removal of the consumer carbon levy on April 1st. Eliminating the charge will reduce the cost of a liter of gasoline by 17.6 cents and reduce the cost of a cubic meter of natural gas by a little more than 15 cents. Here's CTV's Rachel Aiello with more from the swearing-in ceremony in Ottawa.
Mark Carney became Canada's 24th Prime Minister today. Presenting his new government to the Governor-General, Carney vowed to meet the moment.
I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trust reposed in me as Prime Minister.
Before the ceremony got underway, Justin Trudeau resigned privately, a muted end after a grand beginning to his near decade in power.
Congratulations, Prime Minister.
Now, Carney is looking to turn the page, removing several Trudeau-era ministers and walking away from gender parity. Carney's cabinet includes 23 people, 12 men and 11 women. Among the major moves, François-Philippe Champagne takes on the key finance portfolio. Stephen Guilbeault has lost the climate file, moving into a new role focused on Canadian culture and identity. And Kamal Khera, said to be a top party fundraiser, is now the health minister. Carney has also promoted 3 rookie MPs. Nova Scotian Cody Blois is in, as are Ontario MPs Ariel Kayabega and Ali Assassi. Maine Liberal leadership rival Chrystia Freeland is also back in the fold, accepting a lower position than she's held in years. But how long this cabinet will be in place is a big question. In his first press conference as Prime Minister, Carney said Canadians should expect to go to the polls early.
There will be other news in the coming days with respect to ensuring that we have as strong a mandate that is needed for the time. Thank you.
Jagmeet Singh says before that happens, he's willing to buy Carney a bit more time.
We want to see a plan put in place rapidly to create jobs in Canada, and then we can go to election.
But Pierre Poilievre, whose campaign against Carney is already well underway, said he's ready for Canadians to have their say.
Mark Carney thinks Canadians are stupid. He thinks that a little bit of cosmetic surgery will allow the Liberals to disguise who they are and make people forget what they did for 10 years in order to elect them to a 4th Liberal term.
Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
The mother of a BC woman detained by U.S. authorities while trying to enter the country from Mexico says she feels powerless to help her daughter. Alexis Eagles says Vancouver businesswoman Jasmine Mooney was detained at the Mexico-U.S. border near San Diego after trying to enter the United States on a visa that was denied. Eagles says she found out through family friends that Mooney is being housed with about 30 people in the same cell, with fluorescent lights that never turn off, no blankets, and limited bathroom facilities. Global Affairs Canada has said it can't intervene regarding entry and exit requirements of another country, but officials are trying to gather more information to provide consular assistance. As the trade war continues, the latest to go toe-to-toe is Trump and the EU over alcohol. Here's CTV's St. John Alexander.
Wine and champagne are the latest commodities to face Trump's wrath, calling European Union tariffs abusive and hostile. The U.S. president threatened a 200% levy on booze from the EU. A sudden early morning response to Europe's tariffs on U.S. bourbon. His Commerce Secretary suggesting Trump doesn't like it when other countries fight back.
The president has made it crystal clear that he finds this tit for tat really abusive. And why are Europeans picking on Kentucky bourbon
Secretary
or
Lutnick,
Harley Davidson motorcycles?
Are you saying this is an emotional response?
It's disrespectful.
And as the Canadian delegation that included the Premier of Ontario was scheduled to meet with American officials, Howard Lutnick took to American networks, accusing Canada of not saying thank you for its relationship with the U.S. and mocking our tariff response.
And what does Canada do? They put a tariff on sports equipment. I mean, really?
He negotiated the damn trade deal with them. If trade is so bad with Canada, he was the guy who signed the deal.
I was supporting him right up to this election. And then all of a sudden, he turned the guns on his closest friends and allies.
All of this unfolding as the stock market crashed again, and foreign ministers gather for the G7 summit in Quebec. The German delegation making it clear they stand with Canada.
At this meeting in your great country.
Mexico, Japan, and Canada are among our most important allies.
At a Senate hearing, the man who wants to be the U.S. ambassador to this country appears to be steering clear of annexation talks.
Would you agree that Canada is a sovereign state and should not be even jokingly referred to as the 51st state?
Thank you. Canada is a sovereign state, yes.
And late Thursday, as the delegation emerged from those talks in Washington, hints of progress.
It was very, very positive on both sides of the table.
More meetings are scheduled next week. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to the weather, the full moon arrives tonight, known as the worm moon. The Old Farmer's Almanac explains it's called that due to worms beginning to appear this time of year. The sun rose at 7:52 a.m. today and sets at 7:36 p.m. Tonight on the north coast, it's looking cloudy with a 40% chance of showers this evening, rain beginning near midnight. Light winds, except getting up to 50 kilometers an hour near mainland valleys and inlets overnight. Temperature steady near 3 degrees. Over the next few days on the north coast, expect the rain to continue. The temperature will stay relatively steady around 6 degrees, and overnight lows will sit in the 1 to 3 degree range. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, it's looking cloudy with a 30% chance of flurries late this evening and overnight. Winds from the north at 20 kilometers an hour and a low of -1, wind chill -7 overnight. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect flurries or rain showers, with the temperature sitting in the 4 to 6 degree range. Overnight lows will be at or a few degrees below freezing. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking mainly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers overnight, winds up to 15 kilometers an hour and a low of -12, a wind chill of -5 this evening and -15 overnight. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, temperatures will sit at freezing Saturday, then warm up to 6 degrees Sunday, and the sun will come out Sunday and Monday. Overnight lows in the -4 to 5 degree range. Checking your Northwest highways now. On Highway 16, there's slush and slippery sections, utility work between Rainbow Avalanche Gates and Rainbow Chain Up, construction work between Chimdamash and West Binwall, and industrial traffic 10 kilometers east of New Hazelton. On Highway 37, watch for slippery sections, slush, and water pooling. On Highway 37A, pavement patching between Hyder and Highway 37 Junction, as well as slippery sections. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, the trade war's effect on tourism. The trade war is having a substantial effect on the tourism industry. Here's CTV's Paul Hollingsworth.
A trip to Nova Scotia every summer from his home in Delaware is a tradition for Arthur Elston and his wife. This year is no different.
Our best friends live up there. We're going to come up and visit them for a couple weeks. And we enjoy being with them.
Elston won't be alone.
Group travel and cruise ship travel is increasing from the United States.
Even as trade war tensions rise between Canada and the U.S., bookings are up. Nova Scotia is expecting a heavy volume of American visitors this summer.
We're 40.5% increase in sales over last year to date.
The dollar's exchange rate appears to be too good to pass up.
They'd like to vacation.
They'd like to come to Canada. They'd like to take advantage of that 69-cent Canadian dollar and spend their money here.
If Americans are choosing Atlantic Canada as a preferred summer destination, in Quebec, it seems Canadian pride is boosting tourism. According to the Quebec Tourism Industry Alliance, 45% of the people who had planned a trip to the U.S. have canceled. 49% of those plan to vacation in Quebec, which could boost provincial tourism by $1.5 billion.
We don't need their lumber.
As for U.S. President Donald Trump's attitude towards Canada, Elston is taking the high road and is tuning him out.
I'm not a big fan of what he's doing, but it's not going to affect what I do.
At this stage of life, he wants to spend quality time with his friends and is not concerned about politics. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Turning to the stock markets now, Canada's main stock index gained 1.5%, rallying alongside U.S. markets to end an otherwise grim week for equities, while the price of gold topped U.S. $3,000 an ounce for the first time ever. The Canadian dollar was up 0.1 cent. The price of gold was up $9.80. Oil rose by 63 cents, natural gas dropped 1 cent, and aluminum dropped $43. In Toronto, the TSX was up 350 points. The Venture Index was up almost 8 points. In New York, the Nasdaq was up 451 points, and the Dow Jones rose by almost 675. Still ahead, a competitive gymnast who beats the odds. Next up, we get to meet a fabulous gymnast who's proving fitness can have great longevity. Here's CTV's Swita Rassi.
Yes. As a master's level gymnast, Milda Graham can flip, tumble, and do cartwheels with ease. She's keeping up with people less than half her age. She's 59.
And then they see me tumbling, and then they're like, wait. So it's really fun to kind of push the boundaries of people's expectations.
The gymnast has always loved the sport, playing competitively on and off for decades.
Something kept pulling me back. I think it was my inner child. Just really loved gymnastics as a kind of a pure expression.
Warming up and doing stretches is a vital part of her routine. Graham says the key is listening to your body.
You get a personal teaching experience of your own body to understand what you must accommodate.
Graham has a serious competitive side too. In May, she will be competing at an international gymnastics competition in Germany. And although she was born in the US, Graham is hoping to bring back a medal for Canada.
I've made my home in Montreal. I love Montreal, and the idea that I'm representing in this climate something that's really passionate to my identity and my locale and my community is off the charts for me. Up and come down. That's the best solution.
Her coach, Andrea Ropoleski, couldn't be more proud.
I can't even describe it. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled for Milda. She works hard for it. She always shows up. If anyone deserves to represent Canada, she does.
And while the world of gymnastics might look a certain way, Graham is hoping her story inspires change.
I feel like I'm standing up for, women and women's bodies.
Proving that age is truly just a number. Swita Rassi, CTV News.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.